Hello everyone, this is VGTI, and the next game I decided to discuss is Killer7. I know I said in my last video, the Far Cry 3 video, that I would be theorizing about a DS game next, but I'm putting that on hold for now. I might not even do it. I'm still trying to compile what I want to talk about with that game, so you might see it in the future, you might not. But I decided to do Killer7 next because this is actually a video game that I have wanted to theorize about ever since I started the channel, and really ever since I played the game. If you don't know who made this game, it's Suda51 and Grasshopper Manufacture, and they're the people behind games like No More Heroes, Shadows of the Damned, Lollipop Chainsaw, and the recent Killer's Dead. And this game, it has one of my favorite plots in all of video games because it's very deep and intricate and there's a lot to analyze. The thing about Killer7 is that it doesn't tell you what's going on, it barely explains what's going on, and it leads to a lot of chances to analyze for yourself and piece together the plot. So, because of that, this will be a multi-part video series focusing on different aspects of the game. In this video, part 1, will be focusing on the assassins themselves, the Killer7. The game leads you to believe, at first, that the one behind the Killer7 themselves, the assassins, is actually an old man in a wheelchair named Harmon Smith, and that he has some kind of strange version of multiple personality disorder, and that you're actually seeing him imagining himself as these different assassins, when really it's all just him. But is that the case? Well, as you keep playing the game, you find out that there's more to it than that, and that that's probably not the case at all, and that there's actually something much more insane going on here with these assassins. Now, be warned, of course, there are spoilers in this video. There are always spoilers in my videos, so if you want to play this game and experience the awesome plot for yourself, go do so. It might be a little hard to find nowadays, as it was released in 2005, I believe, for the GameCube and the PS2, but if you find a copy and you're interested, or if you're a fan of Suda's other games, definitely give it a shot. It's probably my favorite game by him and that company. Alright, so continuing on with our discussion of the assassins, I'm just gonna drop the bombshell right now. I think the assassins are actually dead. Or rather, they used to be normal people, but now they're dead. They died in some way, and Harmon Smith came along, found them, and adopted them into his paranormal sort of assassin syndicate. How did he do this, though, you may be asking? Well, the theory is that Harmon is a god, or rather, what I think is the god of destruction. And he has the power to sort of revive the dead, but adopt them into his power bank, so to speak. That's what I'm going to call it. And basically, when he does that, he can choose this assassin at will and change into them. But it's not him that's doing the changing. Harmon is kind of controlling them like puppets, is what I think. And he has one certain personality or person that is really like controlling all the rest and actually turning into them. Harmon's just behind the scenes, but who's really changing into these assassins? That would be Garcian Smith. You find out at the end of the game that Garcian Smith was actually a man named, or not a man, he was actually a teenager, if I recall correctly. He was actually a teenager named Amir Parkrainer in his previous life, and that he killed the Killer7 before becoming a part of them. He killed them at the hotel. You find this out in the last chapter of the game, or the second to last chapter. And, of course, Harmon discovered him after he shot himself. He killed all of the Killer7 and shot himself. And then Harmon found him, recruited him into the Assassin Syndicate, or as they are called, the Smith Syndicate, and Garcian became sort of the leader of the personalities. If you analyze the Killer7's abilities, a lot of their abilities are opposite of what they did in life or how they died. Now, Amir killed the Killer7, so of course his power as being a part of the Smith Syndicate is to revive them. Garcian can revive the Killer7. It's in complete contrast to how he murdered all of them. You even find evidence sometime into the game that one of the personas, Dan Smith, he actually died. Curtis Blackburn killed him. And that leads you to wonder what's going on. Like, if he was killed, why is he part of the Killer7? And that just adds to my theory that they are all actually dead, and they're still dead. Harmon did not revive them, so to speak. He used them. He's using them as part of his power. But they are not truly alive. They're just a bigger piece of the puzzle. And that, I think, is the important thing to remember about the Killer7, especially as you're playing the game. It's fun to play the game a second time once you know what you know. At the end of the game, or near the end of the game, Garcian opens his briefcase and you finally see what's inside it. All of the Killer7's weapons. And that makes you think that the entire game it's actually just been Garcian going around using their weapons and acting like these people. But I think that he actually did become them, because some people acknowledge them as looking like something else, not looking like Garcian. But it does reveal that Garcian is truly the one behind it all, and that he was Amir Parkrainer, and that he was the one who killed the Killer7 before this. And that is what leads to Garcian's awakening as Amir Parkrainer in the final chapter of Lion. It's why his eyes turn green and why he loses his ability to sort of see the heavens smile, and also why he can kill them even when they're invisible. It's basically him awakening to the truth that he's been denying all along. As with the other Killer7, they were all just kind of normal people who died and Harmon saw potential in, so to speak, so he used his powers on them. I mean, they all have different backstories, but Garcian's is the most critical to all 7 of them, because without him, I mean, the game's story wouldn't have really happened, would it? Well, that's basically it for this aspect of Killer7. I've said most of what I needed to say about the assassins themselves. To recap, Harmon, in my opinion, is the god of destruction, and I will talk more about that later in a future Killer7 video. But he's the god of destruction. He has the power to adopt these personalities of these dead people into his assassin syndicate, and that Garcian Smith was the one who killed his previous syndicate, and once he did, he shot himself. So Harmon found him, adopted him into the Smith Syndicate, and recreated it again through Garcian Smith. And that is basically all you need to know about the assassins. It explains really who they are and why they are the way they are, because it leaves you wondering the whole game, what's going on with them? If you guys have anything to add to this theory about the Killer7 themselves, feel free to leave it in the comments. I know this feels kind of incomplete, and that's because it is, but I will be discussing more in my future videos for Killer7. I'm not sure when I'll get them up. I will do that as soon as possible. But once I discuss every aspect of this game, it will start to piece together and make even more sense. There's actually a document that was released by Suda himself, if I recall correctly, called Hand-In Killer7, and it explains a lot of the things that happen in the game. But Suda revealed that Hand-In Killer7 was actually a way, it was like a plot that the game was going to have originally, but apparently they couldn't fit that all into the game, so they had to chop up a lot of things and change some things. So if you read Hand-In Killer7, there's some contradictions to things that happen in the game. So I will not be pulling evidence from Hand-In Killer7. I'll be pulling evidence strictly from the game. Hand-In Killer7 is pretty interesting to read, but because it was apparently just originally a plot that was going to be used but is now not used, I will not rely on that as a source of evidence for these theories. So I'm just making that known. In the next Killer7 video, I will talk about certain things in the game and the way they work. What I mean by that is mysterious things that aren't really explained, like the soul shells, the gatekeeper, the gates themselves, how blood works, the rings, things like that. A lot of the little systems in Killer7 that make the world tick. So, keep an eye out for my next Killer7 video. I hope this video was entertaining for you and that it cleared up a lot of things going on with the assassins themselves. If you've played Killer7 and the plot confused you, I sincerely hope that these videos will help you piece the game together even more. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, or go about your business. I will see you all in the next video.